Okay, this last one is a string of clips and of Mike Adler, the Duke goalie. Okay. And because I've been getting a lot of questions about the stance, this like one leg down stance. And I think Willie from Hong Kong was asking about that. And the idea, all right, so we're gonna let me just get this to click in. Okay. So here, if you see this clip here, if you see Adler, he's basically down on one knee. And so no, I don't know Mike Adler, and I know he makes a lot of saves, but I would argue that the reason why he has to make a lot of saves is because Duke's defense is not the greatest. All right, and yeah, there I said it. Because one of the when you have a lot your goalie can be good and play on a crappy team and make a lot of saves, right? And so, um, but your goalie can also be not great, and your team has such a high-powered offense that your defense sucks, but nobody cares. Your goalie's there because, like, hey, that's great, but we're just going to rely on our offense to score. And I think sometimes Duke falls into that category. Okay, but here you'll notice that he's basically down on one knee, and as far as I can tell, the concept here is he's kind of playing it like an ice hockey goalie would do when they're playing like on a low angle shot and but you got to remember how an ice hockey goalie works. Like the padding on a goalie works very differently than basically the naked body does on a tight angle, and that's really what happening here happens here. So in this particular shot, all right, this just blew my mind because again, defensively, your team is supposed to drive the ball carrier to goal line. So we have a low percentage shot, and this is about as low as you can do it. The problem is that Adler, because he's already down, like if you watch this, it's like he almost doesn't trust it. So he's down, and if you're down, the more the player moves to the goal line, the more space you're actually taking up. And what's really kind of fascinating to me is he stands up and then the ball goes right underneath him. Like, what are you doing? Right. So the general rule here, guys, I'm going to tell your goalie, you should not be doing this. Okay. You should not be doing this. You can stand up and understand that you're basically cutting down the angle and you're taking up a lot of surface area. But this is not fully thought out. Okay. And you would think after like 6 years of college that Mike would have this done, but whatever. But he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And what your goalie needs to understand, and I encourage all of you to do this with your goalie, is you've got to set up like cameras. You've got to use cameras like so that they see what's actually going on. Because this shooter has nothing to shoot at except 5-hole right here. And they go for it. Now, what was really fascinating to me in this game was there were a lot of shots taken like this. Like it was almost like UVM knew a little bit about what they were going to see in the game, and they took a lot of shots from that side, that angle. Right there it is again. Right, just super disappointing. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm just play this forward. Here it is again. Like, like the goal, the player is basically behind, almost. He's on the goal line right there, right? So this is where, as you've got to understand the language of lacrosse. So this player's coming, and he's a righty, like he's a righty. Puts the stick in one hand. So right as when the offensive player has the stick in one hand like this, they can't shoot. Okay, they can't shoot. So what you've got to be thinking as a goalie is you've got to be thinking like, well, where's the stick going to get up? If he brings the stick inside, now I got to be ready. But now his hands are low. One thing that UVM did a lot in this game was low to high shots. And so I wouldn't be surprised if by this point in the game, if what ends up happening is that in a game you have a history, right? So if a shooter shoots like a certain way for the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden does something else in the fourth quarter. Well, the goalie is like going like, oh, okay, this guy's done this the whole game, and most likely they're going to be thinking like that. Well, this is just gamesmanship, right? But as a goalie, I've got to be ready to see. All right, if that stick goes inside and those hands go low, right? This is why you can't read shot. You can't read shoulders, guys, right? But there's that ball, and this to me is a really disappointing miss save because all you got to do here is just flood that space with your thigh, with your balls. Okay. I mean, literally, you drop your balls in front of this ball to make a save. Like, if you're not ready to do that, then you're like, what are you doing? Right. Hockey goalie does that. Oh, wait, but you don't wear that cup. Oh, right. All right. Here's another angle. All right. There it is. But if you watch Adler there, he gets to here and then he stands up and lets that by. All right. All right. Here's another one. Let me just fast forward here. All right. This is another angle here. So the principle here, I think, is sound in such that the goalie understands that when there's a tight angle here, they're trying to get as much of their body inside the far post to cover as much net. Problem is, if you kneel on one leg, for any of you guys that have ever been in a gym and you know the difference between like a squatting bilaterally and then uh, if you do a lunge, like if you do a lunge, you don't have the explosive ability from a lunge, especially if it's static. Okay, so that's something to understand. Is that is that in strength and conditioning, one of the way to build strength is let's use a squat as an example. You squat down and then you pause for like 3 seconds, and what that does is it eliminates any sort of like stretch reflex. Right. And so this is where when you get down into a lunge like this and you're just static, well, you could try this right now. Like after the video is over, just do this. Get down on a lunge, get your one knee on the floor, and then try to explode up real fast. And you'll realize you just can't do it. Right. It's very difficult to do. It's very, very difficult to do. Exactly. He couldn't have dropped down any more if he wanted to. It's totally true. Totally, totally true. Yep, exactly. So there's a concept here that I understand what he's working with, but it's just being poorly coached by his coaches, poorly thought through, and because what ends up happening is in this particular play. You remember how I was saying like there's a lot of shots from this angle. Here's one. So he's down, and then what do? Well, they hold on. They shoot high, right? Because if you're down, right? So you've heard me say this, like, so if you if you centrally locate the stick, which is basically what's happening here, that's okay if you're not in a stretched position. So if the stick is here, if the stick is here and I kneel down, well, for me to get like up, he might not be able to cover that corner, right? And that's really important to understand, right? So we want that hand in a powerful position, right? And that hand is going to be somewhere here. It's going to be somewhere in front of the shoulder joint. That's where you're going to be the most powerful to move anywhere. For the dads out there, for the moms out there, take your goalie, have them take their hand and grab it like a shifter in a car and move it like have them start in a place and say, all right, I'm going to move you. And what you'll find is your goalie is naturally going to start to bring their hand into here. That's going to be their most powerful position. Not out here, right? That's just dumb, right? They're going to bring it right in here. And that's going to be the most powerful. And from that power, that's where you're going to have speed as well, right? So UVM here, they're like, okay, the second we get top side, we're going to go top shelf. We're just going to try to stick it top corner because Adler likes to drop to his knee, right? Even they're like, that's dumb, right? Right. That's a big stretch. Look at that. That's a big stretch. And he would have missed that. Just for the record, he would have missed that. That would have gone right in. Okay. Not by much, but it would have gone in. I'm more concerned about far side, far pipe, but we'll get to that. Okay. So let's expand that out and we're going to go this way. All right. And here we go. And also the run of that end line, yeah, whatever. Anyway. Okay, here comes it again. Where does this go? Yeah, okay, so here, watch this. All right, so ball's top right. He's going to come down the alley. Looks for the slide. Slide doesn't go. Then he cuts. Now Adler's going to drop again. And watch this, okay? Let me zoom in here. So this is where sorry guys, hold on. Source. Okay, so right here. Can you see that okay? Maybe we go up here. Nope, that won't work. Hold on. Yeah, that might work. Oh, that would work. We go up here. Better? Okay. So this UVM player is going to come right down, and then he's just going to get the stick inside, and they feel so confident. Just like, if you can stick this, you're going to score. And look at that. That one is like right over his head. Right? So the hands here, if you look at the goalie, now he's dropped the stick. This is wasted coverage. So you got to realize, right? We talked about this like last week. The goalie's position on tight angles has to morph, right? We don't want to dangle the stick head outside the post. But we also don't necessarily we can't have it just like in front of the body here. If you've sacrificed like yourself down and you're just trying to block space, well then you've got to leave the stick up, because you're going to get to a point where you just can't, like, it's like you're cramped. You're not explosive. You're not athletic. And the UVM player puts the ball basically right over his head. Easy, like that's an easy goal. That's just an easy goal. So I don't get it. And then Duke's like, "Well, I don't understand what happened with the slide." No, you didn't understand what happened with your goalie. Like, come on. Okay. Seriously, no offense to Mike Adler, but if you hear this, if I was playing against you and I knew you did this, I'm going to tell my attack in the first quarter to come through just like this, if they get the chance, and shoot it right at your nuts. I swear to God. Right? I swear to God. Shoot it right at your balls. And then, because you're going to be out for the rest of the game because you're totally exposed here and not in a good way. Okay? So sorry, but it's all fair in competition. All right, so now here, this is that same angle, sorry. Yes, true, Alex. He also gets all right, so here's that let's go through here. Oh, here it is again. Hold on, let me just change the FPS, okay? All right, so in he goes. There's a lefty. Gets the stick in his right hand. Adler's now leaning on that post, right? You don't lean load. It's like, dude, like, come on. That's 18 inches down from the post, or for the crossbar. Sorry guys, can't see it. Sorry, hold on. Remove. Right, that's 18 inches down from the crossbar. Yeah. So if you're standing here, this player still has a chance to shoot on the cage, but most like he's just going 5-hole, or he's not shooting at all. And what I noticed about this as I watched these clips is like, this opened up for UVM a whole area of the field to shoot from, because they felt super confident to just like, okay, he's going to drop to one knee, we're going to go on it. And like I said, here's where I just shoot it right in his balls. Right? Sorry, man, but right at your balls. Boink. Okay, totally exposed. Right? So yeah, very disappointing. And do I have okay? So now fast forwarding here. Okay, this different clip. Fast forward. Okay, here, there it is again, right? So another play, guys are like, okay, I just got to come top side and I'm going to go low to high, right? And he misses the cage. You probably could have scored on that one, um, right? But so this is where, in the course of a game, the other team is going to start to pick you apart because they know what your weaknesses are, right? And this is a pretty big weakness, right? Um, let me. Okay, I want to show you this clip. Here you go. So this is what this all leads to, right? This is what this all leads to. Ball stop left, coming inside right, here. All right, we'll just take that shot. All right, we'll just send it on this one. All right, we scored on you from inside 5 yards. I'm not even going to work that hard. That's what UVM's saying right here. Is they're like, I'm not even going to work this hard. So let's get the pass. And now I'm going to just rip this at 15 yards from a really tight angle. There's no reason for this ball to go in, guys. None. None. This is a totally savable ball. And if you watch this, here it comes. And it's going to go right for that unprotected right or left shin. And he literally pulls his knee out of the way, and that ball goes inside far pipe like by 4 inches. Right. So you can tell a lot by a goalie about how they end up after the ball goes in. Right. So you see how he's moved, and this is this is where you don't want to let your goalie get into bad habits. This is where one of the, in the group this week, dads were like, well, it doesn't matter how somebody makes a save. It matters how they make it. That's only true to a point, because if your goalie has been making a save based on a flawed premise, well, guess what? That's going to bite you in the, what later. Okay. So, and this is a perfect example of that. Okay. It's a totally perfect example of this is like a cumulative set of plays that then by the fourth quarter, now Vermont's, within three, okay, within three, and you start to go like, well, what are we doing here? Okay. Right. Because that is, to me, that's a totally savable ball. All right. Primarily with that left shin. Here's a great angle. Right. It's like, okay, his shin is where this ball is about to go. Whoop. And that, to me, guys, okay, that's where you've heard me say that you've heard me say that that to be world class at anything, okay, from to be world class in anything, you need thousands of repetitions. And this, to me, is a perfect example of a save where the lacrosse goalie of the future will have trained to make this save with their shin or their foot over and over and over and over and over again. And the only way they're going to do that is if they're protected. Okay. It's like, okay, guys, remember that game where we, 33 scored on us from the right side by the short angle, went far post. All right. Here's what we're going to do. Goalies. All right. We're going to make that save because we know we can't get our stick head on it. We're going to get on it with our shin. All right. We're going to get on with the shin and we're going to do a bunch of them. Okay. Right. Because he can't get his stick there in time. Right. He can't get his stick there in time, but the shin was just there in that space. So either it's a misread or it's a bit of self-preservation going like, I don't want to put my shin there. That's going to hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Okay. It's totally going to hurt. It's going to hurt with a capital H. Okay. All right. Couple questions. He also got burned with a pass to the front of the crease. Next progression. Yep. Rob writes, maybe if he took a couple shots of the jingle balls, he wouldn't drop so much. Now, listen, the thing about jingle balls, right? The thing about jingle balls is that, all right, if you guys have my goalie cheat sheets and my scorecards, you see the lacrosse goalie manifesto. As a goalie, your goalie signs up and says, like, I'm going to put something in front of this ball, and in order to keep it from going over the goal line, like, and it doesn't matter what it is. but we're gonna put the most efficient thing we can in front of the ball. So if that happens to be your balls or your lady balls, well, so be it, right? We may need that save. 5-second rule. 5 seconds left to go in the national championships. Is that what you're gonna do, right? Or no? Are you gonna go like, It's like, no, you got to sell out, man. You got to do it. Willie writes, Rob, from what I remember, it seems he only does that on the right pipe and not the left. No, he I don't have any left pipe clips, but as a righty goalie, it makes sense. Yeah, Rob, it's basically, again, it's your stick position, right? And so what I've argued for years is like, okay, I do believe that we're going to have young goalies who learn how to play this position with both hands, because fundamentally, if you're I just think we're there's the opportunity for a goalie to practice and play and train, and get basically ambidextrous with the stick, so that if you're on your right side post, you're going to have your stick in your left hand. If you're on your left side post, you're going to have your stick in your right hand. I just think we're there. Okay. Yeah. So you're exactly right. So, listen, guys, I wanted to point this out. I wanted to dig in a little deeper, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see this kind of coached out of Adler at this point, although he's like a 6th-year senior. So I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if it stayed or not. Rob writes, but smart goalies have the right type of cup, and it's not jingle ball shots. It's Tupperware shots. That's a comment my son got this fall. Is he wearing So Tupperware meaning like bigger, like better? That's awesome. That's a great comment. Yeah, because listen, as a goalie, right? You want, like, if like I said, if you're prepared, that's awesome. Tupperware shot. I love that. That's a new. I have not heard that one yet. That's fantastic. Um, so fundamentally, your goalie, you need to be square to the to the ball, like square to the ball. People say square to the shooter, and sometimes I think they can make. You want to be square to the ball, and you want to have all opportunities with which to move efficiently in all directions. So that boils down to a basic athletic stance. Now, as a lacrosse goalie, we've got to stick in one hand. We've got to make amend. We got to figure that out. Like, what are we going to do in certain situations? We can morph, like we can basically adjust our positions. So without sacrificing our ability to move somewhere else, right? And so that is always the fundamental question I think you have to ask. So when everybody goes, well, could I stand like this? Could I do like that? Well, my question is, do you have the athletic ability to then move in certain directions? Like, yeah, and if the answer is no, then that to me is a bit of a bit of a problem. Right. So if you're leaning on a post is not a good idea, right? You can be loaded on that post. So you're taking up all that space between you and the post, but you're ready to explode to the other side because they can't get anything by you. Right. But if you're leaning on it, that only happens on like really tight angle shots. And you have to be standing vertically and basically with your feet like close together, right? Prepare to make a save with your foot or your shin or your knee or your left testicle, like whatever it's going to be. Okay. Or your left lady ball, whatever we're going to call that. Okay. So I'm an equal opportunity testicle, well, lady ball, whatever, ball stopper. Let's put it that way. Equal opportunity ball stopper, male or female. Okay. So you make the call. All right. All right. Cheers, guys. Willie Lau. Take care, buddy. Really appreciate that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening wherever you are. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. When you're ready, head on over to lacrossegoalieuniversity.com/coaching so I can work with you and your goalie. And while you're at it, check out athletespecific.com to learn more about mental performance and high performance. You may not know this, but I work with athletes in a variety of sports. Lacrosse is my love, but man, I love athletes and the families who support them. So head on over to athletespecific.com, check it out. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.